and welcome to episode 7 of Geekers Creepers, the podcast where we talk about the geeky things in life and the creepy things in life. Thank you again for joining us. I am your host, Rob or Robert, and I am welcomed by the coolest man here, Jose. How's it going, Jose?
Rob, what's up, man? It's going pretty good. Nice, chilly fall night over here. So not bad. How
Yes,
about yourself?
man, I'm doing awesome. It is October, Halloween season.
October.
We are getting spooky, baby.
Yeah, it's the creepy part of the
Yeah,
year already.
now it's creepers. Yes, so yeah, it's good, man. It's getting chilly now, and like I said, I love fall. I love October. Trying to figure out. Well, I guess due to COVID, I don't know if there's going to be any Halloween get-togethers. Um, I don't know what I'm going to dress up now. Just sit here on at my home dressed up as a as a lonely middle-aged man.
Yeah, I think I might join you in that same costume.
I think we'll scare the kids and
Oh,
the single woman.
well, hopefully not the latter part.
um, yeah, but I've been doing good. I know we're going to be talking about a few things today. As far as we're going to, of course, be talking about our geeky topics, the news of the day, and specifically, we're going to be talking about Splatterhouse. Not specifically, but that's going to be a topic I'm going to enjoy talking about. Something that we recently played, and then we will be talking about today. Well, we're going to be talking about also something that Jose is going to share his story about what are known as the shadow people. And we're going to talk about, Jose's going to tell us what happened, what he saw, and we'll analyze that. Did he see something, a supernatural being, a being from a different dimension, or was it a homeless man asking for money in the dark and Jose thought it was a shadow person? We'll find that out and we'll talk about
You'll
that
find
today.
out. Yes.
So, Jose, to start out with, let's see, what have we been playing? What have you been playing?
Well, I've been playing. It's been a busy gaming week for me. I gotta say, I haven't played this many games in a long time. A lot of new games.
Hmm.
So last week, before our show ended, I don't know if you remember, I said I was going to be picking up Panzer Dragoon remake.
Yes.
The font. Well, as soon as I got home from work, that was the first thing I did. I bought it on PlayStation Network and I actually beat it last night. It's not a hard game. It's maybe like an hour long game, So I played a couple hours or an hour still a night, and it's a very easy game, which is exactly what I kind of wanted. Short game, like I said, it takes about an hour, and I loved it. I was like, man, this is a great game, and it was only $25, so it was even better. Um, what else did I play? I played some Splatterhouse, on
Mm-hmm.
my Triple Graphics Mini, and
How'd that go?
I like that game. It's a lot tougher than I thought. I was like, oh man, this is a pretty tough game. I only made
Did
it
you?
to the third stage.
Oh, you didn't beat the
Oh, go
game?
ahead. No, I haven't beat the game. I haven't played it
Oh,
since the last time I played it actually.
huh. I wonder.
Like I said,
I wonder if anybody else can beat that game. Oh.
yeah. I mean, I thought it was pretty. If it definitely fit the creepy, the creepy theme. It is October, so that's why I popped it in. And I was like, you know what, this is going back as a kid, I wish I could go back and play it as a kid, what it would have been like. But I think I would have loved it, like you have your Friday the 13th
Mm-hmm.
character, with the mask, and you go around splattering people with a 4x4 and a and I thought it was pretty cool, man.
Well,
It's a great game.
like I said, I mean, have you heard of anybody that beat the game recently?
Oh, somebody named Rob, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe the host of the show who
Yeah.
rubbed it in by sending me a picture.
Mm-hmm. Took 1 hour. Yep, 1 hour to beat the game.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah,
Um,
it's a great game. I like
I'll
it.
have to if I can upload this on YouTube, I'll see if I can upload a picture of my win. I took a
Yeah.
picture up close. Um,
Yeah. I was like, all right, Rob, man, you stuck
yeah,
with
it's like
it.
honestly, it was like riding a bike, man. I plugged it in today earlier. I plugged in my old Turbo Duo, and I'm like, all right, let's sit down, let's play this game. I gotta send the picture to Jose after I beat it. Um, and yeah, it was. It gives you 5 continues, and then I think I used up 4 of them, so I came close. I almost didn't do it, but yeah,
Yeah.
it was like I said, it was like riding a bike. I got back into it.
Ride on a bike, like 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 nothing. You picked
Yep.
right up,
Where I left off.
smashed people around, splattered them all over the stage.
Exactly. So anything else you've been playing?
Yeah, and just the other night I started playing Resident Evil again to go along with the creepy theme for the month
Cool.
for the GameCube. And man, I got to tell you, that game is still creepy. Like I was scared playing it. Like I was like, man, this game is just creepy.
Was it the
And
original Resident Evil?
the remake, the one for the GameCube.
Okay.
So it's not the one. So it's not the one that actually came out for the PlayStation or the Sega Saturn.
Mhm.
So this is like the I guess this is when the whole remake started. Capcom was one of the originals. Not that I look
Gotcha.
back at it.
So,
And yeah, mhm.
oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say yeah, that game it's still creepy, man. I don't know if you've ever played it or have thought about playing it, but
Mhm.
this is a great month to jump into it.
So there's the Resident Evil, and then there's the remake, and then there's the remaster. Then, so the original has
Yes,
been done
yes, I
three
believe you're
times.
right.
Okay.
Yep,
Okay.
I think it's been done 3 times. Yeah, you're absolutely right. The original
Um.
for the PlayStation and Saturn, then the remake for GameCube, and then the remaster.
Okay. Yeah, I did play the original Resident Evil, but I never finished it. I want to say maybe I played about 3 to 4 hours. Honestly, I probably rented the game or I borrowed it from a friend, but I never owned the original one. Maybe one day if I go back to play it, I know I'm not going to play the original because those controls are so clunky. I would definitely have to go find the. I'd actually like to play the remaster. You talk really good things about that, and I'd want to go back and play that one.
I was thinking about buying it yesterday as well because when I was playing the GameCube version, the controls are very clunky, like you said.
Hmm.
They're the tank controls, and I was like, oh wow, I was like, I hadn't played it in so long. It's been years that I've played it, and I was like, maybe I should pick up the remaster, because I believe the remaster has like modern controls to the game.
Hmm.
But I'm like, you know what? No, I was like, I'm not. It was on sale. I think it was like $5, so it wasn't a bad deal. But I was like,
That's
you
not
know
bad.
what? I'm just gonna. Nah, it wasn't bad. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna play this version and see what happens. And I probably played a couple hours into it, and yeah, it's still a tough game. I will say that it's a tough game, but very creepy indeed.
Well, it's the perfect time to play that game. As far
Yeah.
as me, I've been so I've been honestly not playing. I've been playing some games, but pieces here and there. I've actually been working more on our podcast and try to expand it a little bit. So to all the listeners, as of this past week, we are now on YouTube, and you can find us at Geekers Creepers Podcast. And we have I'm going to try to upload each week a video version of this podcast. And we're also I'll be uploading some of my Twitch streams. I haven't done any yet, but I'll be doing that too as I play Dead by Daylight. Jose might, do that too. I know right now I mentioned that, if you need, if you start streaming, you're more than welcome to. But for now, I know for sure I will try to upload as many of the podcasts that I can. So that's one thing I've been working on. Again, it's Geekers Creepers podcast. If you just look up Geekers Creepers, there's actually another YouTube channel by that. So we're not them, and they are only in Spanish. So we're the English version, Geekers Creepers podcast. Um, and so I've been working on that. I've also been working on. I've been doing a lot of streaming too, Dead by Daylight. So as usual, that's what I play. I've got a few streams on Twitch, which I'll include a link, and then hopefully I'll be able to in the near future get a more schedule, and I can include schedule in case anybody wants to watch the stream. I usually just stream about an hour or two, so I've been doing that. And I'd like to really quick. Well, let me just talk about real quick what the games I've been playing too. I've been playing a few
Okay.
games. Yesterday, my friends came over, Mike and Kelly, and I showed them because it's spooky October. I showed them Dead by Daylight VR, the what is it, the Rush of Blood? Is that what it's called?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Rush of Blood.
Yeah, or something like that. Rush of Blood. But either way, that game is creepy, and they loved it. And I love showing people that VR because you don't really move around. You just sit there, you shoot, you're in a roller coaster. It is for anybody that is owns a VR, for anybody that thinks that, well, is VR really worth it? Trust me, this game, and there are many other games, but as far as creepy and scary, this game is definitely worth it. You feel like you're on a roller coaster. When the roller coaster suddenly comes to a stop, you actually feel your body move like like you're stopping. It is fantastic. I also played a little bit some football, NCAA, with my buddy, and kind of going back to that game came out in 2013. We decided to play a game or two, so that was what we did also. And as usual, it's Sunday, so I went on to Animal Crossing to buy some turnips to sell. Those I got so angry. I've never been angry at cute little animals, but every time I try to sell the turnips, I buy them for a certain price. Those little okay, this is a I don't want to swear, but those little sons of something that I sell the turnips to, they were screwing me over, man. I mean, I'm like, look, you're offering me half of what I bought these turnips. No, and the price would never go up. I lost so much money. I know this sounds so stupid what I'm saying. I know anybody listening is like, what is this man talking about? But I lost so much money on turnips. And so that was that was that's my
Sounds
rant on
frustrating.
Animal Crossing. But I want to real quickly do a shout out to my buddy Pablo. He runs a streaming channel. It's Pablo Loves MC. He's on Twitch. It's Pablo Pablo Loves Loves MC, like Mary Charlie. Pablo Loves MC. If you get a chance, check out his stream. He does Dead by Daylight. He does other games. Pablo's been great. He's been helping me out with jumping on streaming. He's been kind of showing me the ropes. He's great. If you follow him, he's a really cool guy. He's actually really funny, and he's this is what he wants to do. He actually wants to be a streamer, and he's got a lot of potential. He's a great guy, like I said, and he does get a little R-rated sometimes. He's in your face, but he's a lot of fun. So if anybody gets a chance, if you listen to our podcast, take a listen to him. He's actually or watch his Twitch channel. It's actually really good. So with that said, let's get started with our news of the week. And the first thing I'd like to bring up is the release of Mario 35. So Jose, have you heard about this?
I've heard of it, but I don't know much about the game or anything like that. When did it come out? Just on Tuesday or?
Yeah, I believe it came out this Tuesday. I'm fairly certain it came out this week. So for anybody that doesn't know what Mario 35 is, it's out because of the 35-year anniversary of Super Mario Brothers. And what it is, it's like a battle royale for Mario. It came out, the it's free on the Switch. And what it is everybody starts out playing a level of Mario. Usually it's the first level. And then from there, you can knock other players out. So you start on the first level, like let's say you jump on a Goomba, then I'm sorry, there's also 35 other players. So it's like a battle royale. It's you and 35
Okay.
other people. And you all start on the first level, and if you die, that's it, you're knocked out. If you smash on Goombas or on the turtles, they somehow get thrown into another player's level, and it just keeps adding up. So like you'll beat that first level, you'll go to the second one, and when you get to the second one, you're used to playing the original Mario where it was like two Goombas, but instead you have 30 of them coming at you because everything keeps piling up from the other players. And so at the end of the day, it's the last man standing. The last person to not die, because all you have is one life. The last person not to die wins it. So it's out of 35, and that's what it is. It's a lot of fun. And I did play I played maybe about half hour, 45 minutes today for the first time, and I had fun. I think the highest I got was 11th place, and then after that I got knocked out. So again, it's new, it's free. want people to know that well, not want, but if people want to try it, it's definitely worth giving a shot. And I also spoke with my friend Will. He he also played it, and Will is our age, so he grew up with Super Mario. So when we were kids, of course, Super Mario Brothers was what made pretty much Nintendo. That was the game. And I just want to read what his review is of this game.
All
So
right.
here it is. He says, "I'm really enjoying it as someone who played Super Mario Brothers growing up, but I could see it getting old if they don't throw in some special challenges from time to time.
Hmm.
Getting wins isn't too tough if you play smart because even my 7-year-old got 3 wins." He says he probably played 10 hours this weekend, so it's for sure fun. And he says it's fun to figure out the strategies to keep your time high, and getting coins is huge. And he also stated we basically try to loop 1-2 as many times as they let you. And that's one thing. I played it. I've yet to figure out the strategies. I've yet to figure out how to use the coins to your benefit. And the fact that his 7-year-old won 3 times, I don't know if that says that the game's easier. That says more about his kid, because that is awesome. I tried
Yeah,
it and I got to 11th place. Will's been playing it. He says he's got a few wins, and yeah, it's fun. Now, Jose, you played Mario, right? The original.
oh yeah, yeah, it's classic.
Okay. Did you ever beat it?
You're talking about Super Mario Brothers for the Super Nintendo or for the Nintendo?
Yep, Super Mario for Nintendo.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yep. I beat it all, man. Probably like good 20 years ago. It's been a
Now, did you
while.
beat it with the warps, or did you actually beat it
No.
without the
Yeah, it was
warps?
definitely with the warps. With the
Yeah,
warps, yeah. I mean, that was one of the charm, about Super Mario Brothers when you're a kid. Like, oh my God, look! If you take this pipe, you can skip. So
yeah.
it was definitely. I don't think I've ever beat it like, going level by level.
I have never beat it going level by level. It's always been
Mm.
through warps.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, it's a lot of fun, and it's exactly what you expect from a Mario game. And I think Will is right. The one thing about it is that they may need to add more to it, because after I played it, like I said, about 40 minutes. Um, you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. Maybe change it up, add something else to it. But yeah, for now, I think Nintendo has another hit.
That's good. That's good. And it's a free game, like you said. So hey, you can't go wrong with that.
Exactly. And on to our next topic. We're going to be talking about the Marvel Spider-Man, the remastered edition, and the changes to Peter Parker. So here is an article. It's on ScreenRant.com, and if just give me a minute, let me just read this for you. And it states here that fans of the Insomniac's Marvel Spider-Man got a bit of a shock when details were announced about how the game was going to be upgraded for the PS5. Graphical enhancements like ray tracing were expected, but Insomniac also revealed that they had completely changed the face model for lead character Peter Parker. And then it says, so who is the man behind the new face, and who did he replace? And so, Jose, have you seen this? Who well, the old actor was the previous actor was
Mhm.
a gentleman by the name of John Bubniak, and he was replaced by this newer actor, Ben Jordan. Now, of course, Yuri Lowenthal is still going to be the voice actor, but they made that change. So, did you hear about this?
Yeah, I thought it was a little strange, kind of a strange move to change the whole character. I actually like the character for the Spider-Man, the original guy. I don't know what the reason is that they decided to go ahead and change it.
Well, with that said,
Um,
let me go over something real quick, because they did state that director Brian Intihar stated on Twitter that the reason for the change was because, in order to make a quote even more believable looking characters for the PS5, the team needed an actor with a better facial match for Yuri Lowenthal. Okay, what the hell does that mean?
yeah, that sounds pretty bogus in my opinion. And like I said, I like the original guy. Again, I personally don't think that you need to go change the whole character, the whole facial character. But I don't know. It's just a little weird in my opinion.
Did you see the differences between the two actors? Like what he looks like
Yeah,
now?
yeah. He has like a slimmer face, and
He's got more baby face.
yeah, he looks a lot more younger. I don't know what they're trying to do. Like if they're trying to go for like maybe like a younger looking Peter Parker. But the Peter Parker from the game that we have now, I mean, he's, to me, he's kind of like a little older, anyways. He's going around, with Mary Jane, and
Hmm.
are they going to change her also? Like I don't know.
So the Peter Parker is supposed to be 23, 24 in this new Spider-Man. He's supposed
Right.
to be a mentor to Miles Morales. He's supposed to be a Spider-Man who's weathered. He's been Spider-Man for, 7, 8 years by at this point. And they're making him look younger again, saying that, well, we want him to look more like the voice actor. Why do I care if he looks like the voice actor? This isn't. It's. I mean, it's just a weird thing. I mean, what if the voice actor was, let's say, a 70-year-old man who had the voice? He could change his voice and sound younger. Are you gonna be like,
Right.
well, the Spider-Man now looks like Santa Claus because our voice actor is, he has to look much more like him. I
Yeah.
mean,
Or
it's there's got to be something they're not telling us, or at the end of the day, this is some cold-hearted stuff. I mean, it's pretty much like saying, they're telling this other actor, they're like, you're kind of, you're kind
you're
of
ugly.
exactly, dude. We don't like your face, so you made a mistake. You,
Yeah, we made a mistake. You're just an ugly looking dude, and we
yeah.
want someone that's attractive.
And the poor guy, like, there's pictures of him. He's a good-looking guy. He's not a bad-looking guy, and you
Yeah.
played the whole Spider-Man as that Peter Parker. You get attached to that character. You see him going through, all his issues with trying to win over Mary Jane again. You've got him talking to
Mhm.
Was it Black Cat? Was that the character,
Oh,
Black Cat?
yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah. And then, you've got him working with Doc Ock as Peter Parker, and suddenly they're just like, no, that's not right. I, yeah, it pretty much is something just as cold-hearted as, like, we do not think you're attractive as we want this. We want a pretty boy Peter Parker, um,
Yeah, and
which
what's weird about it is that they pulled this move like not like a couple months like into the release of the Spider-Man. It comes like years later. Like,
mhm.
oh, you know what? We made a mistake. This guy's not like who were they like? I don't know. Like who was complaining about Peter Parker being an ugly dude? Like, man, he's
Nobody.
ugly.
I think maybe there's like an internal memo. Like, all right, guys, who was the one that hired this ugly Peter Parker?
Yeah, whose bright idea was this? Or did like I don't know, Sony get like bombed on Twitter like we want a younger looking Peter Parker, damn it.
I
Like I don't
guess
understand.
it's crazy. And
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
like I haven't heard anything about what the old actors said. I mean, or just I would think that he's a little angry about it maybe, or he would be
Mm.
again disappointed. You're pretty much you're calling out this poor actor because I don't think he did anything wrong. I think the original Peter Parker did a great job.
So do
I
I. So do I.
everything he I don't know what it's like to be a facial animation actor, but in the game he was believable as Peter Parker.
Yeah, and you
Now
know what? You're not gonna believe this. I like him better than the actor, the real actor from the movie.
oh, Tom Holland.
Yeah, I thought this guy was better. I was like, you know what? I actually even like the story better than the movie. I was like, man, this is a lot. I even told my brothers when I was playing the game, I was like, I like this game better than I like the movie.
The game has a very good story, and it's a lot of it is because you are playing as that character. You get invested in that character.
Yeah.
Now, you don't make choices per se, but when you play as that character, it's there's just there's you get a deeper feeling for what the character does, what his motivations are. So yes, I can see why you would like the story better. I like the story also. I thought the story was great.
Hmm.
Actor was great. and now they're blindsiding me by bringing in, this 12-year-old kid to play Peter Parker.
Yeah, I have no idea. I don't know what their thinking was, or again, like Sony. I don't know. Sony, like this past couple months, they've really been like taking a bad PR move, like
Yeah.
in my opinion. Like I don't know what they're. I mean, I don't know. Are people excited about a new Peter Parker? If
No,
people are excited about it, then hey, I guess they're right. But I mean, like I said, I don't recall everyone up in arms like, oh my God, like this Peter Parker, even I don't know. I don't know what's
well,
going
I guess the other issue now is Mary Jane also looked a little bit older in the game too. And you're right. Are they now gonna
on.
youngify her? Are they gonna make her look younger? And and then Miles Morales, he's gonna look older. I saw the screenshots, and Miles also looks a bit older. And now to have Spider-Man, Peter Parker, look younger, again, it's a teacher mentor. They're both looking the same age, and I think it's just I don't know why they did it. I think it's a stupid move. I think just
Yeah,
keep him, you know, keep it the way it is. Why? Again, if anything, you're just gonna anger. I'm not angry about it. I just think it's point. I think it's dumb. But if you have people that truly, truly love this character, that was really invested in that character, you're pretty much just telling them that, tough, suck it up. The new remastered version is gonna have, a better looking Peter Parker, pretty much.
yeah, yeah. Like you said, I'm not angry either. I just think it's a little weird. Like, I don't know, it's a little odd. And like you said, they want us to have a better looking Peter Parker, I guess. They
Yeah,
just weren't too thrilled with the original.
Peter Parker, yo ugly, get out of
Yeah,
here. All right, so well, I guess we'll see what happens with Mary Jane. Maybe they'll
yeah.
bring in jeez, I don't know. Just
Bring a younger Mary Jane, I guess.
that'd be that'd just be awful. Um,
Yeah, but you're right. She does. That's why I was like, why? Now that you mention it, a younger Peter Parker with like an older Mary Jane is a little. Now that's a little creepy too.
yeah,
Like,
well,
oh,
hey,
that's weird.
it's gonna be Mrs. Robinson thing. Are you trying to seduce me, Mary Jane?
Yeah, maybe that's the next plot.
Spider-Man 2. This time it's
Spider Boy
personal. Spider-Boy.
and Miles Morales.
All right. Well,
Oh man.
before before it gets a little X-rated, let's go on to our next topic. So, a lot of the more well-known video game reviewers uh, have received a copy of the Xbox Series X. I believe it's a Series X. They received the
Yeah.
actual box, and not the box, the actual Series X, to test out, and they've had some reviews out there. And some of the big reviews are mainly now they haven't received any of the current games, so they have not been able to play any of those. What they've pretty much just gotten is a box, and then they're able to play the older games. And they've also put out some reviews on this where they talk about the load times. That's actually honestly been uh, the main topic they've
The
spoken about.
main
Have you heard
focus.
about this?
Yeah, I've seen a couple of reviewers as well talk about they got their copy of their Xbox Series X,
Hmm.
and I it's a lot faster as they say, and they can't play any of the new games, so it's kind of hard to compare between the new ones and the
Hmm.
current gen games or older games. But I saw one where they put it. They were playing Red Dead Redemption 2.
Hmm.
And man, I had no idea. Like, I've never played that game, but I was looking at the load time for that. It's like almost 2 minutes in some cases.
Yeah.
And man, I was like blown away. Like wow, that's a ridiculous long load time. And the Xbox Series X, I think, knocked it out in like 50 minutes, 50 seconds or something like that.
Well, let me go over that because GameSpot has an article and they go over some of these load times, and then we'll talk about this. So for the Xbox One, real quick, let me just say that it is an Xbox Series X that they do have. So the Xbox One X has a load time for Red Dead Redemption 2 of 2 minutes and 8 seconds. The Series X is 38 seconds. For the game Control, for the Xbox One X, that is 58 seconds. For the Series X, 10 seconds. Final Fantasy 15, it's 1 minute 11 seconds for One X. For Series X, it's 13 seconds. And finally, Outer Worlds Xbox One X is 43 seconds, and the Series X is 11 seconds. So yeah, the load times are much quicker. So go ahead, Jose. Didn't want to cut you off, but
Oh no.
what do you have to say about this?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I was like, whatever. I was like, I don't care. I mean, it plays backwards games. It's backwards compatible, um, which was what I kind of wanted to see. I saw one of the reviewers was playing Panzer Dragoon Orta, one of the original Xbox games
Mm-hmm.
on the Xbox Series X, and it looked I don't know how much better than the Xbox One X, but I mean, hey, at the end of the day, if it's going to save you a couple minutes, then I guess it's not a bad thing, obviously.
And honestly, I agree 100% with you. Who cares? And and I
Yeah,
don't mean that to be mean or rude, but look, it's a new console. Of course it's going to have faster load times for the old games. If if these articles came out and they're like, well, it runs exactly the same as far as load times, I'd be like, well, all right, so then what's the difference? You're pretty much putting out the same thing. I'm not impressed
yeah,
that if I buy a new computer and I put my old game into that new computer, it's going to load faster. Why? Because there's a new processor. It might be an SSD hard drive, that's a solid state hard drive. So of course it's going to run faster. I'm at no point. Again, if it runs the same as my old computer, if my new computer runs the same as the old computer, I think I'm going to go back to wherever I bought this and say, guys, you guys are really playing me because you sold me a piece of junk. Um, so you're I'm not surprised that it's loading faster. I expect that to happen. And even people are like, what, so much faster? Well, yeah, no, I don't want to use bad language, but yeah, of course it's going to run a lot faster.
yeah.
Um, the what I want to see is when you've got these new games that are going to push the hardware that are going to be these next generation games, are they going to load faster? Or are they going to have that same slow load time that the past generations have had? That's what we need to see to be impressed about. And here's the other thing. Also, at the end of the day, again, I don't really care too much about load times. I want to see what these games are going to look like. I want to see
Yeah.
you know, what are the graphics going to be like? What is the gameplay going to be like with these games? If I have to wait 2 minutes to load a game I won't have to worry about load times in the future while I play it, fantastic. I don't mind waiting those 2 minutes. But again, if I get a next generation game and they all pretty much look like, which is that what was that one game that you said you weren't too impressed with that I do want to see? Um, oh, the one where
What's
it's
that?
2 players, Deathloop.
Mm.
Um, if it's something like Deathloop and they all look like games that could have been released on a previous generation, again, I'm not knocking on Deathloop because I actually do want to play that game, but we both agreed that graphics wise, it's it's not too impressive. So
No.
if that's what that next generation is going to look like, well then you know what? That's I don't want to play something I could have just played on my old
On
Xbox,
the
on my old
current gen.
PlayStation. Yes.
It's like, you know what? I don't want to spend $500 for a game that I could possibly be playing on
Mhm.
my, Xbox One X or whatever. And yeah, you're absolutely 100% correct. When I was watching that video, honestly, I didn't even care about the load times. I just want to see what the games look like on the
Mhm.
Xbox Series X, and I was like, all right, it looks better. The load time to me was the afterthought. It was about how did the games look on the new on the new console.
Yeah. A- And maybe we are the outliers on this because when we grew up, every new generation of video game consoles had to have better graphics. Your Atari,
Right,
your
right.
Nintendo looked better than the Atari. Your Super Nintendo looked better than Nintendo, etc.
Hmm.
Um, as we as these generations go on, the differences between the older and the newer aren't as drastic anymore. It's not like you're going from a PlayStation to a PlayStation 2 where you're like, wow, it's no longer these polygonal characters. Now they actually look somewhat human. Um, but again, if it's like you said, if I'm paying $500 for faster load times, I'm not impressed. Again, I want to be impressed. Show me what are these new characters going to look like?
Yeah.
I want to see a game where I'm like, holy cow, I can't believe that this is what I'm playing now. You know,
Yeah,
but
you're
mm,
100% correct. It's like, all right. Like I said, when they were showing the videos, they had nothing really to compare it to. They're just
mhm,
loading up older games, and like you said, they should. They I mean, there's no excuse. They should load faster in theory. I mean,
exactly.
it's a new console, and they should look better because it's more powerful, right?
Mhm.
And is it something to brag about? Like I, I don't think so. But it's one of their selling points at this point. I guess a lot to some people it really matters. How fast they don't want to sit around waiting for a game to load. Me, while a game is loading, I'll just get on my phone and check something or whatever until it loads.
So I mean, I do want games a little faster. For me, I had Skyrim, and Skyrim took forever. Every time you would walk into a house, you'd have to wait like a minute for it to load. And then when it came out for the new generation, it was like 2 seconds, bam, it was fast. That was great. But again, you're right, Jose. I watched these videos and you got these reviewers. They're like, "Oh my god, it was only 10 seconds. Did you see that? As opposed to 2 minutes." And I'm sitting there. I'm
Yeah.
like, "Okay, dude, you are way too happy about this. Just relax. It's. I know it's a lot faster, but it's not. It's not that impressive."
Yeah.
Um, but again, I mean, hopefully they're going to show us something in the near future that we'll be able to say this is the next generation of games. I'm not hating on the load times. I think it's great that they load faster with these older games, but how do they work with these newer games? How are they going to
Yeah.
work there?
And I
Hmm.
think the problem also is that Xbox Series X has really again, no good exclusives, to anything to hang their hat on. So they're like, all right, look, we got faster load times.
I don't know. I know they. I think they're going to come out with this with all these buyouts that they're doing. They're going to. Oh man, I think there's going to be good console work coming up in the near future. Di- Didn't
Yeah,
they?
yeah, definitely.
They bought Yakuza, didn't they?
No, no, they didn't buy Yakuza, but they're finally because I don't know if Sony had some kind of deal where they were only being released on PlayStation, but they're gonna be released on Xbox as well.
Now you're a Yakuza fan, right?
Yes, yes.
So I'm getting a little off topic here because um, uh, Steve, you know Steve from Work, Steve.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Um, Steve is a huge fan of, and I just bought this, Fist of the North Star. Have you played that game?
No, but it's also made by Sega, and I think it's in the same vein as a Yakuza, if I'm not mistaken.
He absolutely loves this game. He says it's his favorite game, and he gets passionate. He'll talk about this game,
Yeah.
and he gets passionate about it. So I bought it. I'm going to try it out, and I told him I would give you a heads up because I'm like Jose. He told me he's like it's like Yakuza, and I'm like
Uh-huh.
I'll tell Jose because he's a Yakuza fan. So
Yeah.
um, I'll give you a heads up. I'll play it sometime next week, and I'll follow
Cool.
up on that one. All right.
Excellent.
So on to the next topic for today regarding some news. This is about CD Projekt Red and the mandatory crunch time regarding getting their game Cyberpunk 2077 released. Did you hear about this, Jose?
No, no. So what's going on with this?
So CD Projekt Red previously stated that regarding crunch time, they said that they would not force their employees to crunch at the last minute or work extra hours in order to put out a game earlier. This was when all these other companies were being torn apart because they were forcing their employees to work all these insane hours. CD Projekt
Okay.
Red said, "We're not going to do that. We believe that our employees should be able to work in a reasonable manner."
Yeah.
But now that the countdown is coming for CD Projekt Red's game, which is Cyberpunk 2077, I believe it comes out in November. They've forced their employees to do mandatory work, mandatory crunch in order to get this game out on time.
Mm.
So now there are a few differences here between now CD Projekt Red is a Polish studio. So there are a few differences between how they do it and the way it happens in America. In America, a lot of these employees are salaried employees, so they might be forced to work 80-hour weeks, 90-hour weeks, and they still stayed paid, they're still paid the same amount. Now in Poland, this is what I've been informed, is that the majority that they can work, I believe, is 48 hours, or maybe 50 hours. That's the top that they can work, and then, or the most hours they can work, and then they also get paid overtime. So it's not like here where if you're salary, you're not going to get anything extra. But again, they're still going against what they said and forcing their employees to work extra hours because of they need to get this game completed in time. With that said, Jose, how do you feel about this? You can either talk about CD Projekt Red or just crunch in general regarding the video
Yeah.
game industry.
Yeah, it's very tough on these game developers. They're definitely on a deadline. I think it's already been delayed, if I'm not mistaken, already. And they're trying to get their game out. I'm an old school guy. I'm like, you know what? Just wait until the game is done and bring it out. If you have to delay it again, then hey, whatever. Because the one thing I don't like is when these game companies put out a game and it's not done yet. And then you gotta, they're gonna patch it up like weeks later, months later, and they're a patch here and a patch there. Just wait it out. It's going to be a massive hit regardless. I think the more time that they spend, getting the game right, to me, is more important than just putting out, something that isn't done yet. And at the end of the day, it could be even more detrimental to the company if they put out a
Mm-hmm.
product that's not, good. And especially if you're paying, I don't know if it's going to be, current prices or is it going to be new gen prices? If you're paying like $70 for a game and it's like buggy and has all kind of
Mm-hmm.
issues, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, I think the video game industry needs to figure out what they have to do with this crunch issue. Number one, in my opinion, is in America, video game developers need to unionize. That is number one. If they unionize, they may have some voice to force these publishers to say, hey, we're going to work reasonable hours. We can work overtime, but not what you're forcing us to do because we need to see our families. We need to stay sane. Now, with CD Projekt Red, yeah, they did promise one thing and they went back on their word. But at the end of the day, out there in Poland, it seems like when you do extra overtime, it really isn't that bad. It's 48 hours and you get paid overtime. So it's not like out here where you got these game developers that are working, 80, 90 hours a week and they're still stuck on salary. Now, a lot of them
Yeah.
do get paid good money, but a lot of them don't. And I know Rockstar has been called out on this, where people would be, people would stay working and they wouldn't leave because what's his name, Dan Hauser, the owner of the company, like he would work late, so you would not leave before he left because if you did, it wouldn't look good. That's
Yeah.
not the type of industry people need. This is people go into this industry because they love playing video games. They go into it because they want to create, and then to be forced to work, these insane hours where it's just you go nuts. That's not right. There needs to be a change. I think it starts with the union, and at that point, it puts a scare in these publishing companies, and it says you either treat us fairly or your company is going to suffer. Your stockholders, people that are investing in your company, are going to suffer. So we need to be treated right. And I think that's where it starts. And I think that's the change that needs to be done.
Yeah, just delay the game. Just delay it. You don't have to force everybody to work. Ridiculous hours. It's already a stressful job, like you said. They're already under immense pressure to hurry up and meet their deadlines. And like you said, over here in America, you're on salary, and you end up getting paid probably less than minimum wage all the hours you're doing. Working at a
Yep.
job. And just delay it, just be like, hey, whatever, we're sorry, we apologize, it's not ready, we don't want to, their PR move should be like, we don't want to put our employees under much more stress than they already are, so we're just going to delay it. Everyone's happy, you're not
Hmm.
forced to spend the night at your job, and you get a good product at the end as well.
Yeah, exactly. Well put, Jose. Well put. All right. Now, let's talk about a game that we both have been playing. That is Splatterhouse.
Ooh, Splatterhouse.
So, Jose, let's start out. Now, this is a spooky game. This is a game that is an October game. Now, you played it for the TurboGrafx Mini, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. And have you ever played it before?
Yeah, I've actually played it. I have a ROM disc with all the TurboGrafx games, so I've played it before, and
Okay.
I wanted to see what it was like, if it was any different than the ROM that I have on the TurboGrafx Mini. It appears to be the same. It appears,
Okay.
as of right now.
So, a little history about this game. Now, TurboGrafx came out in 1988. At that time, it was an arcade game. I was watching a video, and the YouTuber stated that he said it didn't come out in America. That's not true. This game did come out in America because I did see, as I mentioned last time, not last time, but maybe it was a couple weeks back, that at my college there was a Splatterhouse arcade there. So it did come out in America, but it was limited. And the game itself it's a horror game. It's a side-scrolling horror game. Think of it like it's kind of similar to a beat 'em up, but you can't go up and down. You just go left and right. And it was very much inspired by like the horror genre, Lovecraft, and just a bunch of different
Friday the
horror games.
13th.
Which one?
Oh, I said Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th is a big one, yes. And I'm going to get into that in right now because there were some differences between the original 1988 arcade and the TurboGrafx when this one came out. The arcade one was the mask of the killer, or not the killer, the hero, because you're actually not a killer, you're a hero. The mask was white. And then when it came out for the TurboGrafx, they changed it to like a purple reddish mask. And I'm guessing it was a copyright issue because that white mask made him look exactly like Jason from Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
One of the other big differences, of course, there was a graphical difference. Music and graphics, the arcade was graphically not a lot, but graphically better. And I believe if you buy the Splatterhouse, the newest one that came out for the Xbox and PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, if you buy that one, I think you get the original arcade version of the game in there too.
Oh, nice.
And there was another big difference between the two of them. One that made this game controversial in America, and that was that there's a stage where you go into a church, and in this church you fight one of the bosses, and the boss has a bunch of floating heads around it, and in the TurboGrafx one, the middle is this blue head. But in the one that was released, the arcade, it's an upside down cross. And it was like, imagine 1988. This is the time when people were talking about the occult. People, parents were up in arms about every kid that played Dungeons and Dragons was worshiping the devil. All of a sudden see this game where you have an upside down cross and you have to beat it by hacking it with with the cleaver. That's how you defeat the boss. You have a cleaver, and you're smacking it upside down cross. So that caused an uproar. Now, when it came out for the TurboGrafx version, they took that out and they just made it like a blue head. And so it was this crazy game that was gory at the time. You smack monsters into the walls, you cut monsters in half, you stab them with spears. It was called Splatterhouse for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
So Jose, in front of me, let me show you here. I have a copy of the TurboGrafx Splatterhouse manual. If you would give me a minute, I would like to read what this game is about.
Yes, please.
Okay. A boom of thunder, darkness, a scream, and then. The place was called the West Mansion, but to all who knew its legend, it was known as Splatterhouse. It was once the home of the famed parapsychologist, Dr. West. There was a research lab in the house where Dr. West conducted some of his most gruesome experiments. It was even said that it was in this house that he created the most hideous creatures that ever walked the face of the earth. But no one knew for sure. Dr. West had not been seen or heard from in years, and no one who has ever gone into the mansion has lived to tell the tale. Rick and his girlfriend Jennifer were parapsychology majors at the local university. That university is giving out some bogus majors. But okay.
Yeah, is that Trump University or what?
They were both very interested in the works of Dr. West, as he was the most famed parapsychologist in the world. One day, they decided to visit the abandoned West Mansion as part of the project they were working on in school. As they walked towards the house, it started to rain. They entered. All went dark. Lightning cracked through the sky. There was a frantic scuffle, then a scream, and suddenly Jennifer was gone. Rick's unconscious body was covered with blood. Hours later, Rick awoke to a fantastic horror. He was alone and drenched with blood. But the most terrifying thing of all was that a hideous mask covered his face. He had read tales of this terror mask in Dr. West's writings. It was said to have ancient spiritual powers. As his only hope, Rick must depend on this mask to give him the strength and courage to find Jennifer. Now, Rick's fight has begun. And that was the premise of Splatterhouse.
So Rick was his name, okay.
Yeah, Rick was
and
his name.
Jennifer.
And I know I'm kind of like hogging the conversation. Is there anything you need to say about Splatterhouse? I love this game, to be honest. This game, I asked my parents to buy me the TurboGrafx specifically for this game.
You know, I bought my Sega Genesis, you know, long before Splatterhouse came out on the TurboGrafx. But I'll tell you what, if Splatterhouse had come out, you know, earlier, I would have had a TurboGrafx over at Genesis, no doubt about it.
So let me go over some of the stages here, because if there's any younger viewers or people that haven't played this game, I'm telling you, it took a little bit out of everything. It was a Japanese created game, of course, but it did take so many things out of different genres of video games. Not video games, I'm sorry, of the horror cliche. Like when you start this game, the first stage is called the Underground Dungeon. It says here chained cadavers, zombies, and bizarre creatures crawl around inside an eerie dungeon. Razor-sharp spikes thrust out from the floor. So that's what it was. That first level, you're in a dungeon, and you have zombies coming after you. And the boss at this level are these slimy worms. You played this part, right? The wormy?
Yes. Yeah.
And it's crazy. Like, you're sitting there, and it's disgusting sludge, and out of there, like, these worms with teeth come out, and they jump all over the place, and they attack you. And then almost at every level, like, after you beat the main baddie, you know, like, something else pops out at the end. Like, in this one, there's just a dead body hanging, and this worm jumps out of the dead body as one last attempt to get you.
Yeah, and it got me a couple times when I first played it, because I wasn't expecting that. And I was down to like my last heart, you know, my last energy bar or whatever. And, you know, I was like, oh, good, I beat this, you know, wormy thing. And then, like you said, at the end, it just shoots out one last worm and that I was not expecting. And I was like, damn it.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
I when it gets you, you just want to throw the controller. You're like, God, you know, that it's like unbelievable. So that's that first level. And then we got the second level, which is the sewage canal. Rope corpses fall from
Yeah.
the ceiling, and sludge monsters attack you at every turn. When you reach the final room, you must battle a gruesome poltergeist. Again, this was so cool at the time. You actually,
It was.
part of this level, you go into like the sewers, and there are these sludge monsters, and you smack them with like a 2x4, and you hear like, and they're kind of like, they get
Yeah.
stuck
They
on the wall.
splatter. They
They do.
splatter.
They splatter. And that last boss character is a poltergeist. Like you're in this room where the chairs attack you, like furniture attacks you, and
The
then
painting.
the painting attacks you. It's a painting of an eyeball, which is really weird.
Yeah.
I can't think of anybody that, if I went to anybody's house and they had a painting of an eyeball, I'd be like, "Sir, I have to leave."
Yeah.
But like, and then after you beat it, like the poltergeist suddenly leaves. You see this little spirit just
Yeah.
like float out the window, And again, that right there. That's like Poltergeist. That was that was inspired by the movie Poltergeist.
Mhm.
And so then the next level, the forest ambush. Rick's search for Jennifer continues as he goes into the forest. In a steady downpour, he readies his gun as monsters await in ambush. Uh, Again, this level also had a memorable villain. Have you gotten to this level, the forest? Jose? Oh, Jose, I can't hear you.
Yeah. Yeah,
Sorry.
you're talking about the third level, right?
Yeah.
I don't recall the third level.
So third
The
level is the
boss, at
forest,
least.
and then after when you get to the end, the boss is the guy with the chainsaws. He's got two hands for chainsaws.
Oh, no, I don't think I've gotten that far yet.
Okay, this boss is scary as it is. Like he's this huge character. He's got a bag over his head, like Jason. Like Jason, like in the first movie where it was just a bag and they had an eyeball they
Right,
took out of.
right.
And he's got this bag over his head. He's got, instead of hands, he's got chainsaws as hands, and he just kind of comes chomping after you. I'm telling you, like, it is an awesome level. Now, stage 4. All who enter beware, avoid the spinning razor edge blades, enter the hall of mirrors, see figures from the darkness. Again, now you're inside this mansion. This is the part where you take on those floating heads that I told you about. It's inside
Okay.
this church, and it's got, again, you're inside this mansion, you're fighting in this church, and then you got these other levels. You got the one after that. You do fight. Spoiler, so I'm giving you a heads up on this one, Jose. But you fight
All
your
right.
own girlfriend.
Oh, what?
You never actually save your girlfriend. In stage 5, you see there are these monsters around her. You walk into the room, and they run off. And all of a sudden, like your girlfriend, she looks up at you. She gets up from her. She's like on this like slab of concrete. She gets up, looks at you, and she's like, "Help me!" And then all of a sudden, she turns into this like nasty monster that attacks you. You fight the monster, you beat the monster, and all of a sudden, Rick, our main protagonist, goes to hold her, and she slowly disappears. So you end up killing your own girlfriend.
You know what that reminds me of? Like you said, every level seems to be inspired by something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like the first level, the boss was kind of inspired by aliens, I would imagine.
Yep, you're right.
The second level, obviously, the poltergeist,
Mm-hmm.
it was from the movie. The third level seems to be like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Mm-hmm.
And then this one, it sounds to me like it reminds me of, I don't know if you've ever seen Halloween 3, the Season of the
Season of the
Witch.
Witch? Yeah.
Yeah, the one same thing at the end. Remember when he ends up killing the girlfriend
Oh my
because she
God,
turned to a robot?
I didn't even think about that, but you're right.
Hmm.
Or,
So
the
it's,
other one would be Evil Dead, because doesn't he kill his girlfriend in that one too?
oh, I don't know, I never saw that movie.
I think he
I
does
was
there
thinking
too.
Halloween 3.
But yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
both of
it
those.
could be. I mean, maybe both. I mean, the game's obviously inspired by horror films.
Hmm.
American horror films.
And then,
And hmm,
well, I was gonna say after that, it gets a little weird because after you finally kill your girlfriend, you go into what's known as the womb, and it says inside
oh,
this cave, the noxious monsters are born. If Rick cannot destroy the newborn evil here, the nightmare will continue forever. You are inside. It is. Oh man, I mean, it's a little
it's not
R-rated
kiddie
because you're in.
friendly.
Yeah, it's not kid friendly because you're inside a womb, and it looks like it. You're. um, it's, let's just say you're walking inside a canal, and it's
Yeah.
just like this thing where, and at the very end, like there's these little monsters that are newborns. They pop up and they like
Yeah.
jump on
Oh
you,
no.
and you beat it by like it, people play it to believe it. Like you'll
Yeah.
see it, you'll be like, all right, this is some Freudian stuff here. And then finally, you have the last character, which is this like big head that comes out of the ground, and it's the final character. You beat him. When you finally do, you see your mask explode. The um, the mansion is on fire, and then afterwards, like if you watch after the credits, your mask comes back together, and it's pretty much says that it's going to be continued. So that was, in essence, Splatterhouse, and that's like I would say Splatterhouse is a very uh, uh, un, underappreciated game.
Very underappreciated. And I think, sadly, it's because it was on a TurboGrafx
Mm-hmm.
16. It was the TurboGrafx 16 wasn't obviously it was not a hit here in this country. It was a very niche audience, and like I said, I knew about it because I was a big time gamer at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember when the TurboGrafx and the Sega Genesis came out around the same time. I was still debating like which one did I want, and I really liked the TurboGrafx. And yeah, but Splatterhouse, it's just such a cool game, like the music, even the music is very, like when I was playing it the other day, I was like, you know what, this game, as sick and demented as it sounds, it's a very charming game.
Yeah,
Looking back at it, like it's so, it's so cool. Like, I like it. I like the graphics. I enjoy it. The music is very eerie and creepy as well. And
it is creepy music. I'll give you that. It is good.
yeah, what did you like about it? Oh, I have one more question to ask you. Like,
Mm-hmm.
when you got your Splatterhouse copy, and I don't know how you bought it or anything like that, but when on your way home, did you like open up the box and like read the manual?
Of
And
course,
on the ride, oh man, I used to
of
do that
course.
too.
Yeah. Um, Now I don't know if I with this one I may have gotten Splatterhouse. It may have been like a Christmas or a birthday present, so it wasn't like we went out and bought it and came back because I believe I got the
Okay.
triple graphics at the same time I on like a birthday or Christmas, and this is the game that I got for it. Yeah, but it was the game was is fantastic. It's a hidden gem for anybody that can pick it up. Definitely play it. If you can play the arcade version, check it out. It's a piece of history that I'm not gonna say I don't think it really motivated. It's not like those Splatterhouse clones. Like after it came out, nobody really said we're gonna make the next Splatterhouse. But at the time when it came out, I believe it was '92 or so. It came out for the Triple Graphics, maybe earlier, maybe '90.
Hmm.
That when it came out for the Triple Graphics, it was a selling point for that system. People saw this
Yeah,
game. It was more adult oriented and maybe more like teen oriented. Um,
teen oriented. Yeah.
yeah, and it was a game that it was a gory game. It was something that it was a little bit more edgier than what people had been used to at the time. And I mean, I love talking about this game. As I told Jose, he played it earlier today. I decided to play it, and I beat it in an hour.
Yeah, you know what? One of the things about Splatterhouse is that, like, listen to you describe the other stages that I hadn't gone to. You know, I didn't know it was that dark of a game.
Hmm.
Like I just played like a couple of levels, and I thought it was pretty cool. It was like charming. Like I said, I was like, oh man, this is such like it's hard to believe that game caused such such commotion back when it came
Yeah,
out.
compared to
It's
now.
like compared to now what we see and what we play, it's like it's so tame. It's almost like Tom and Jerry type violence. Like looking at it. And but yeah, no, I'm with you. I think it's a very cool game, and definitely for anyone who's never played it, if you're able to get your hands on either a ROM or a TurboGrafx Mini, or if you want to cough up the big bucks and buy it, an original copy. It's a cool game to play and to own and to talk about.
Mhm.
Like Robert's right. It's a fantastic game.
And with that, I'd like to go to our next topic, which is a topic in general that I'd like to get your opinion on. So we'll start with you, Jose, which is now that we're in this Halloween October season, let's talk about scary games. For you, what makes a game scary? And just give me a few that you've enjoyed and why you enjoy it. And again, what makes them scary for you?
What, atmosphere, definitely atmosphere is something that's a big selling point. Music adds a big ambiance to how creepy a game is. Throughout my whole, oh man, I've played plenty of scary games, and like I said, recently, two of them, or one of them for sure, was as scary a game as I've ever played, and you mentioned it earlier, and that's Rush of Blood VR.
Hmm.
That is a scary game. It's right up there with like a real horror movie, probably even scarier because it's like right up in your face.
Yeah.
All the clowns and zombies that come after you and spiders and
Yeah.
and they're coming at you through every angle. You turn around, they're attacking you, and that was a fantastic scary game. Actually, now that you mentioned it, I'll probably pop it in for the October month as well. And Resident Evil, that's, to me, that's still, oh man, that game is just, it's still creepy and scary, and it just, you never know when a zombie's gonna pop up. You turn a corner and there he is, and you only have like 2 bullets left, and oh man, it's just, you definitely get a rush. Like last night when I was playing it, I shut it off and I was like, oh man, like now I have to go to bed. Like great. And
So
yeah, I used to.
go
Uh,
ahead. Go ahead.
if you know, yeah, I used to have a friend a long time ago. He used to. This was when Resident Evil 4 came out, and he would tell me the next day, like, "Oh man, I gotta stop playing Resident Evil. I keep having zombie nightmares." And that sums it up.
Yeah, those Rush of Blood definitely is it that one because it's VR. It's so like you're saying, it's you're there. When you play this game, you're on a roller coaster and you've got guns and to anybody who's never played this game or who's never played VR, it's if you play the right game, it's an experience you have to experience. Just speaking
Yeah,
about it, seeing a YouTube video will not
it
even tell
doesn't
you.
justify it.
Yeah, exactly. Not even close to what it's like. You play a game
No.
and you are there. There's somebody that's coming at you, and you are just swinging. You're just shooting like crazy, and it's a whole different type of fear. Now, as far as like what makes games scary for me, I agree with you, Jose. One of them is definitely atmosphere. One thing I don't like, and I appreciate it in tiny bits, but jump scares in movies or in video games. Like Five Nights at Freddy's, that whole game is based on, jumping out and scaring you.
Mm.
That gets tiring. That's cheap. If done correctly, it's good. Like one of the most infamous jump scares in video games is in Resident Evil. That one scene where the dog goes jumping through the window.
Oh my
You know,
God, yes, that's
the
still scary.
first time you played that, you're just like, it caught you off
Hmm.
guard. But the rest of the game was scary. There is a game that it wasn't meant to be scary, but the tone, the atmosphere always kept me like I just didn't feel right. My stomach was not. I just felt sick to my stomach when I would play it, and that's the game Manhunt. Did you ever play that one, Jose?
No, no, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was a Rockstar game. It's about a criminal that was supposed to die on. He was supposed to be. What do you call it? He was on the death penalty. He was supposed to get not electrocuted, but injection or whatever. And he wakes
Lethal
up.
injection.
Yeah, lethal injection. And he wakes up and he's found inside this empty city and with a bunch of gang members, and he has to escape by sneaking around them or killing them. Now, to any people who want to play this game, it was on the Xbox, and I advise you, it's best if you don't. If you're, especially if you're young, do not play this game. This is very much an adults only game. At that time, my girlfriend would come by every now and then, and if I was playing that game, I'm not kidding, Jose, I would turn it off. I did not want her to see me playing that
Wow.
game because it was that bad. And but it was the atmosphere. It was so scary. It was so dirty, so gritty. It was like watching a. It's kind of weird. It's like watching a snuff film. I mean, that's what it was.
Oh
the
wow.
The purpose
Like a video game.
of the video game was that you're being recorded, and there's a guy that's kind of feeding you information, but he's actually making snuff films that he's mailing, that he sells to these rich people, and you're the main character of his movie. So, like I said, it's really gritty, and that for me was
Wow.
that atmosphere was creepy. It was scary. Um, and again, we'll talk about this more, but there are other games that they don't have to be that bad, but like you said, it's that atmosphere that gets you. Silent Hill would be one. Um,
Yeah. Did you
okay,
ever play that? I've never played any Silent Hills.
I did. I played the first one, and it is creepy. And I think I have the second one. Actually, you know what? I should go back and play the first one. I think I have it on my PSP. But there were of course other games that I'm a I'm a big fan of Dead by Daylight. As I like to talk about all the time. But I don't really consider that game scary nowadays. It's more like once you learn how to play it, it just becomes a game that you play. Every now and then, don't get me wrong, I'll get scared, when a killer jumps out at me. But it doesn't have that. I love the game, but it doesn't have that atmosphere that you're talking about. Um, but yeah, I mean, for me, I agree with you, Jose. That's the number one thing to make a good scary game. Not the jump scares, but
Mhm.
where they put you. You know.
Right, right, right. Yeah, but definitely to all the listeners out there, if you have not played Rush of Blood VR, you've got to give that game a whirl. And I hear that Resident Evil VR is just as creepy and scary as well. I have not
Oh
played
yeah,
that
that's
yet.
that's right. Yeah, that one is scary. Yeah,
Yeah, too many scary games.
I love them though. I love scary games. I've got so many of them. Um, I've, I've got way too many scary games. Honestly, if I have my choice, I usually pick a scary game over just any other type. Um,
Mhm.
because it, it's a lot of fun. It's like I don't know. It's that adrenaline rush.
What about The Last of Us? Would you put that in a scary category?
Definitely, I would
Yeah.
definitely call that a horror game. That game, um, because it's twofold. Not only are the monsters evil, but the people, the survivors, are also evil, and the evil stuff they do. That is definitely a horror game, but that one also has a lot of. That one also is kind of. It's not like Manhunt where it's just like Manhunt. Like I said, it's a dirty game. Like you just feel sick.
Hmm.
Now, Last of Us 2 can make you feel that way, but in a different way. It's like I hate to say this, but it's more intellectual. You kind of feel like you're learning you're learning something. It's like reading a good book. You may not learn a lot, but you actually appreciate. You see that it's a work of art. You know,
Okay.
but that's definitely a scary game. So
Excellent.
anything else, Jose, with this topic as far as what makes a game scary and what you enjoy playing?
Yeah, Resident Evil. I mean, the whole Resident Evil. Well, I wouldn't say all of them, but a good chunk of them are very scary. And Resident Evil 2 was a great game. The remake that I picked it up earlier this year. Oh man, that one again. It's very the whole atmosphere is dark and just scary and creepy. And Resident Evil 2 was great. Resident Evil 4 was right up there as well. Was another
Mhm.
fantastic scary game. And I haven't played any of the other Resident Evil games as well. Sorry, my cat's meowing. She wants me to go play hide and seek with her, and yeah, she's been meowing for like 5 minutes. And yeah, I mean, I enjoy that genre as well. It's a fun genre, definitely a lot different than playing a beat 'em up or
Mhm.
something like that. And I definitely throw in Splatterhouse in that category as well. Even though looking back at it now, it's not that scary. But as a kid playing a game like that, I could definitely see like getting some nightmares over it.
Yeah, and we'll talk about this more. Maybe next week we'll go over like some type of, maybe just talk about maybe like Nintendo games we found scary. We'll figure it out, but you know,
Yeah.
it is spooky October, Spooktober, so we'll touch base more on this next week. Um, Now, in a minute, we're gonna go into our creepy segment. We're gonna start that out with Jose's personal story regarding his encounter with an his unusual encounter. But until then, we
Yes.
have to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
So this happened, I would say, maybe about uh, maybe like 30 years ago already. I was probably like 13 or 14 or 12, somewhere around that age range, right? So what happened was, I don't know what I was doing at my cousin's house. It was me and my younger brother, and we were at my cousin's house. My cousin lived 2 blocks away from us, and it was time for us to leave, and it was already dark. And I remember asking my aunt if she could walk us home, and she was like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." So it was already nighttime, so it was already dark for sure. And my aunt, my cousin, my younger brother, and myself, went walking through the alley. And my let's see, if I was around 13, my younger brother is 4 years younger, so we were still pretty small, right? And so we were again. She agreed to walk us home, and before you know it, she was like, "All right, so we'll see you guys later." And I was like, like, "Oh my God, she's not gonna walk us home." And we're like, "All right, like whatever." It was only 2 blocks, right? So me and my younger brother were walking down the street, and again, it's already dark. And I turned around, like after we had walked like a half block, just to see if they were really gone. And she was gone because I'm sorry. Before she said she was gonna stand at the corner of the alley and watch us until we got home, right? So when we got like a half block later, I turned around and they were long gone already. I was like, well, I go, so much for her waiting. I was like, well, whatever. So me and my younger brother were walking, and I would say maybe like before we got to the corner of our block, we noticed this one guy like walking towards us. And at the time when you're a kid, you don't know what it was, right? We just thought it was some guy walking. But we noticed that this guy, he had no type of how should I say, like it was just like a shadow. It was like a shadow of a person, and he was walking towards us, and me and my brother were kind of like, all right, this is a little awkward, because there's no physical outline of this person, right? So we started walking a little bit slower, and I just told my younger brother, his name is Rick, and I was like, run, so we ran back towards my aunt, and from what I recall, when me and my brother still talk about this, the person that we saw was definitely, he was all in black. It was all black. It's like there was no like facial anything like that. And we do recall him having red eyes. We've for sure said that. We're like, man, he had red eyes. So, me being older, I left my younger brother in the dust, and I feel, looking at it back in hindsight, I was kind of like, oh my God, like that's so terrible of a bigger brother, leaving his younger brother behind us. And, we were pounding on my aunt's door, to let us in. And she came back, and she opened the door, and she was like, well, what's going on? And we explained to her, like, yeah, we saw this one guy, and we don't know what, who he was or anything like that. We were just like, we were very frightened, as kids, for it to be like a regular guy, we wouldn't have been scared, of seeing a regular guy walking towards us. But what made it weird was that it was kind of like, how when it's foggy and you kind of like see like somebody like appear like from the distance, like coming sort of like walking towards you. It was kind of like that, but it wasn't foggy. It was just like we were walking home, and all of a sudden, like from the distance, we saw this one guy, like, all in black, a shadowy person just walking towards us. And what makes it weird is that, we lived in a part of town where once it's nighttime, that's it. It's not like Chicago where there's people walking around the streets, at all times, or in a big city like that, right? Once it's dark, just like not a lot of people walking around, and yeah. So we told my aunt, and obviously when she saw that we were spooked, she, definitely walked us home, and when we turned the alley to see if the guy was still there, he was no longer there. And we got home, and the first thing we did was tell my mom what happened. We're like, yeah, we just saw this one guy. We don't know what it was. And like I said, when me and my brother still talk about it, we mentioned it. We're like, it was definitely a shadowy person with red eyes. That we for sure. And it reminds me of the like looking back at it, like Mr. Big from Resident Evil, Resident Evil 2, that big character, sort of like that. That's what it totally reminded me of. Like when I saw Mr. Big, I was like, you know what? This is exactly kind of like the character or not the character, but the thing that we saw that night. It was just some big shadowy person, or entity, or whatever we saw with red eyes, coming towards us. We did not want to, keep walking forward, to find out whether it was going to be a real person, or, what it was, to find out. We were like, you know what, let's just, well, me and I just told my younger brother, like, run back, to my aunt's house, because, it was, that shadowy person was walking towards us. So our instinct was to run away, right? And like I said, I'm not sure what it was. I don't know. It could be just a kid's wild imagination, at night, being scared. It could have been just some regular dude walking, walking home as well, just walking towards us. But, when you're a kid, when you're 12, 13 years old, and it's nighttime, and you see something, some guy, in the distance walking towards you, you don't know what it is. So, yeah, that was one of our creepy stories, that we saw a shadow person. And the thing was that we didn't know about shadow people until much later in life, once the internet came around, and, there started being more, reported stories of shadow people, which is when me and my brother were like, hey, you know what? That's probably what we saw when we were kids. We probably saw a shadow person. So I don't know. What do you think, Robert?
Well, let me start out by going over a link to a website that you sent me, Jose, and we'll include this link to our um, to the podcast. It's pararational.com. It's types of shadow people. So let me just read a little bit here. It says shadow people are a pariah to our darkest fears. Anyone can imagine waking in the middle of the night only to see in their sleepy haze a shape standing in the dark doorway to their room, a shape that is darker than the surrounding night, a shape that seems malevolent, standing and watching you as you sleep. Then it goes the basic definition of shadow people. Some common features of shadow people are a shape that is generally male in appearance. They are aware of us and react to our observing them. A typical shadow person is tall, ranging from 6 foot to 7 foot. Very often, they seem to be wrapped in a cloak or large old-fashioned cloak. Their appearance has depth to it, unlike a shadow cast on a wall that is flat. Quite typically, they have no visible eyes, but some will have glowing red eyes. Shadow people are rarely reported to have spoken or tried to communicate. Physical objects seem to not matter to them, and they can walk through walls. They can have a demonic shape and demeanor. Now it goes into different theories, which we could talk about in a little bit. Lurking shadow people goes into that, dangerous or aggressive shadow people, visitors and transient shadow people, shadow figures as omens, and haunting shadow figures. But before we do that, Jose, I do have a few questions regarding your story. Now,
Yeah.
one thing is, you said you saw it in a distance. Let me ask this: where did you see it when you were walking home?
Well, it was so it was kind of like we were walking home right down the street. So
Okay.
we were heading west, and he was walking towards us. So he was going walking eastwards, right towards us. So I would say maybe like a half block ahead of us.
Was it on the street?
No, he was on the sidewalk.
Okay, he was on the sidewalk on your side.
Yeah.
Were
So he
there
was
lights
walking
out
like
at that
towards
time?
us.
Were there street
There,
lights?
yeah, there were street lights, yes.
And then how far away was he from you when you saw him?
I'd say about a half a block away from us.
Half a block. That's crazy. And you said you saw red eyes?
Yeah, we saw like at first. See, what made it weird was when we were walking, like when my aunt was with us, we didn't see anybody, so we were just walking. Like I said, it was only like 2 blocks.
Hmm.
So if somebody was walking towards us, we would have seen him like say a block away. You could see somebody who's walking clearly, like maybe even 3 blocks away. You could see if somebody's walking towards you, right?
Hmm.
So my thing is, I think my aunt might have seen him as well, and probably like, you know what, I don't know, let's just head back. She probably took my cousin and was probably like, hey man, let's get out of here, because she walked us towards the edge of the alley. And see, the alley ran north and south, right? So
Okay.
she walked us to the edge of the alley, and we were gonna walk east, and she was supposedly gonna wait at that alley until we got to the corner of my block, right? So
Okay.
which was she could clearly see us get to that corner of the block, no problem. And like I said, which was weird, was that that person we didn't see it from far away. How should I explain it? Had it been a regular person, we would have been able to see him coming. Like as soon as we got to that corner of the
Hmm.
alley, we would have seen like, oh man, there's somebody there. And maybe my aunt could have been like, well, you know what, somebody's walking towards them, let me go with them a little bit further, right?
Hmm.
And as we were walking, and as me and my younger brother were walking home, which is when I kind of realized, like, oh man, there's somebody coming towards us. And my aunt said she was going to wait for us till we got to the corner, and when I turned around, my aunt was already gone. So me and my younger brother, like I said, we started walking a little bit uh, towards home, towards my home, and like I said, it just seemed too scary for us, and that's when I was like, I told my brother to run back.
So I've got a few questions here. Just in general, your city, where you lived at this time, how big is that city that you lived in?
It's not a big city. It's in Indiana, so it's in East Chicago, Indiana. I don't know what the population is right now, but it's
Okay.
definitely not like an over like a Chicago where like I
Gotcha.
said, where people are walking like.
Yeah, because like I live in a bigger city also, um, and again, it's not a Chicago, but you're right. It's rare in Chicago at night you expect people on the sidewalk. In these,
Yeah,
smaller cities, and even medium-sized cities, you don't expect them. People sometimes you have people on the sidewalk, but not usually. Now,
right.
you said that you saw you said there were street lights out, and you saw him about
Yeah.
half a block away. Was he under
Hmm.
or whatever it was, he,
Yeah.
she, was it under one of the street lights or was it past the street
Well,
light?
no, it wasn't like under the street. Like he was walking towards us, so there was definitely like he would have walked under a street light. Had I waited to see that happen,
Mm-hmm.
but I did not.
Because I mean, at the end of the day, shadow people, no shadow people, whatever it might have, whatever it was, when you're a 13-year-old kid with your, you know, 8-year-old brother, or 9-year-old brother
Hmm.
walking late at night in the dark, heck, I'd be more afraid that it's a person coming at me than it is a shadow person. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
you don't know what it is. But the crazy thing is that you and your brother both state that after that you saw red eyes, which is, I mean, that's just,
Yeah.
I,
That was creepy. That was the creepy. See, and that's the thing too. Like, had it been a regular person, we probably would have kept going. It would have been like no problem. But there was something about, like, it was just like this weird feeling. Like
Mhm.
it just didn't feel normal to me, because I was older, right? And it just didn't feel like it was. I don't know. It was just so bizarre. Like I said, it was just like you just got like a weird evil sense to it. Like something's not right.
Hmm.
And maybe it's because like the fact that I couldn't make out what it was, like I just saw like something walking towards us, which looked like obviously was, well, I don't know what it was, but I assume it was like a man, a dark man, just I couldn't make out, what kind of a person it was or anything like that. And my instinct was like, get the hell out of there, and that's exactly, like I said, I feel bad for my brother, but that's exactly what I did. I booked it back to my aunt's house. And yeah, it was just very bizarre. And like I said, the thing is that when you're a kid, I don't remember or recall ever hearing anything about shadow people.
Hmm.
It wasn't until much later in life when I don't know if it was a TV show that I was watching or something like that, that we might have been watching, maybe like Unsolved Mysteries. I don't know, and that they could have like possibly mentioned a shadow person, and that's when me and my brother were like, you know what? I think we saw a shadow person that night. You know, it was
Oh.
definitely a shadowy person.
And you said that when you went back that way, nobody was there,
Yeah.
right?
No, no, no. The second when my aunt was, when we went to my aunt's and we were like, we saw somebody, walk us back and or whatever. She was like, okay, she was spooked. She was definitely spooked. I could tell like she didn't want to like walk us back. And when
So
she did, it wasn't there no more.
if you can remember, because again, this was a while ago, but the one
Yeah,
thing, what, okay, if I'm walking down the street and I see somebody, like you said, you'd be like, I'm just going to keep walking. Not a big deal.
yeah.
Somebody's walking on the sidewalk. And what was it? What made you decide to say, let's get out of here?
Well, like I said, it was just like an evil feel, like something wasn't right. It was just kind of like I said, I couldn't make out what it was.
Hmm.
And, I definitely saw somebody walking towards us, and I was like, you know what? Like I said, whatever, I'll just keep walking. But when I couldn't figure out what it was probably, like I said, it happened so fast. It was probably like when I saw the shadowy person or whatever, and I saw the eyes, maybe it was the eyes, the red eyes that made me freak out, like that's not, normal, obviously.
Yeah.
Uh, that, because it was kind of like glowy eyes, sort of, which was kind of weird. And yeah, I just hightailed it out of there. I was like, man, I'm not gonna, keep walking further. But I think also though, like I said, the weird part was the evil feeling that it was like walking towards it, shall we say?
Hmm.
Like it was not a safe feeling. Like had it been like, I don't know. It just didn't feel normal to me. It felt like something was going to happen. Something not good was going to happen had we kept walking.
Hmm. Yeah. So as far as shadow people, I have heard about them in the past. There's something I'm right. You're right. There wasn't something that we like growing up. I used to be totally into like ghost stories and all that, and
Yeah,
UFOs. That's one of the reasons why I like doing Geekers Creepers because I used to love those stories. And as I've gotten older, most of the time I just say you could chalk it up to something rational. That's usually it's like yeah, it wasn't a ghost. It was probably somebody that was I don't know that forgot to close their cupboards and they thought it was a ghost the next day. You know,
yeah,
um, but whenever you hear stories like yours or other people's stories, people who, you know, like I know you, I know that you're not gonna sit here and make up a story. This has happened. I can't explain it. I don't know. And like I
yeah.
said, the shadow people thing, it's a fairly newer phenomenon that people have been speaking about. Uh, Actually, I'm looking on Wikipedia. It says the Coast to Coast AM late night talk show radio show. I'm sorry, let me start over. The Coast to Coast AM late night radio talk show helped popularize modern beliefs in shadow people. The first time the topic of shadow people was discussed at length on the show was April 12th, 2001. Now, that doesn't mean that's the first time people have spoken about it. It's just the first time
Mhm.
it really was catching mainstream. Um,
Right, right, right.
and then it also says participants in online discussion forums devoted to paranormal and supernatural topics describe them as menacing. Other believers and paranormal authors do not agree whether shadow people are either evil, helpful, or neutral, and some even speculate that shadow people may be the extra dimensional inhabitants of another universe. Some paranormal investigators and authors, such as Chad Stambaugh, claim to have recorded images of shadow people on video.
Mm.
Yeah, Jose, I mean, I don't know what you saw. I can't explain what you saw. The
Yeah.
fact that, you saw red eyes, or something, coming at you. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, it's better to be safe than sorry. Making a run for it if you don't feel right
Right.
was a smart choice to do. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
even if it would have been just a man just walking down the street, there's nothing, if you get that feeling, what's the worst that's going to happen? The guy, uh, I just, yeah, I mean, it's a creepy story. I don't know. I guess I have a few other questions. It's like, when you saw this, did it actually look like a man? Was it just, or was there
No, it
something
was
else
just
going
it
on?
was like a figure. It was like a figure of a man. So it
Really?
wasn't like it wasn't like you could see like it was like imagine like a shadow like in the distance like walking towards you, right?
Hmm.
That's kind of what it was like. It was kind of like a shadowy person, but it was like all black. It was all black person.
And how
And
dark was it
granted,
out? Was it like, do you
it
remember
was
the
dark. It
time?
was already nighttime. Yeah, it was already you know. I highly doubt it must have been like my guess is that it probably happened around the fall or
Hmm.
something like that, or spring when it's still dark at an early hour. You know what I mean? Because if it was wintertime, I highly doubt my mom would have let us go anywhere if it was too cold or something
Hmm.
like that, right? And um, if it was the summertime, it gets late a lot. It gets dark a lot later, and my mom wouldn't have let us out that late. I don't. You're you're looking at probably at the dark time. I would say had it been summertime, it probably would have been like 10 o'clock ish
Hmm.
dark time, if that makes sense. So my guess is that it was probably like sometime either in the fall or in the spring where it gets dark early, and we were coming home from my cousin's house, like I said. And I tell my brother now, like you know, I haven't talked to him about the story in a long time, but I told him, I was like, I think probably what it was is just a kid's wild imagination mind,
Hmm.
just freaking out, like, oh my God, it's like seeing a person, and I got scared, and granted, I couldn't make it out, because it was in the distance and it was a shadow, but like I said, it wasn't until maybe the red eyes, that could have been, I don't want to say, well, maybe like I don't want to say a stretch of the imagination. I mean, it could have been, like I said, it happened so long ago, and it was so fast, it was just like, maybe like a half block away from my aunt's house when we decided to like run back. And so I've mentioned that to my brothers, like maybe it was just like my wild imagination or something like that. But he says it. He's the one that's like, no, man, I saw red eyes, and he was like, my younger brother, he was still spooked about it.
Hmm.
The last time that we mentioned it, and when I told him that it could have been like maybe my imagination, but he was like, nope. He saw it himself. So it's good to know that someone else was there to like witness it
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. That's creepy, man. I don't know what, like you said, it could have been just the imagination. And, there's
Yeah,
always that thing at, what is it called? Mass psychosis, where when one person sees something, everybody else says they saw the same thing,
yeah,
like, it's like you get a group of people and they all saw the same thing. Where, like
right,
you said,
right,
maybe it was just somebody walking down the sidewalk, and imagination took over, and your brother agrees that he saw the same thing. But it's different when somebody's adamant about it,
yeah,
like if your brother's like, yeah, I know what I saw, and I remember seeing that, because there's times where, like, I've seen some weird stuff, and I'm like, I know what I saw. That's exactly what I saw.
hmm,
You're not going to change my mind. That doesn't mean that's what actually happened. Do you see what I mean? Like,
right, right, right,
it's I may be, my reality might not be exactly what actually happened, but I know what I saw.
yeah. And
Oh.
the town that I live at, it's an old town. It's been around. It's not like a new suburb that's been around for like 50 years. It's been around for at least a couple hundred years.
Mhm.
So it could have been, maybe like a phantasm as well. It could have been a ghost, somebody's ghost. It could have been a Resurrection Mary type stuff.
Well, you didn't go dancing with the guy, did you?
Yeah, Resurrection Harry instead.
You just you wanted to play some
Want to play some
dominoes.
Splatterhouse? Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, like I said, it happened so long ago, and but I do remember being scared. But like I said, the creepy part also was that when my aunt decided to walk us home, he was nowhere to be seen.
That's crazy. But he was walking. Wouldn't he have passed up and just kept going?
Yeah, he would have like passed us up, because we went back. He was walking eastward, so we ran back east towards my aunt's house. So when she would have walked us home, he would have either obviously passed us up by now, so we could have
Mhm.
like turned around and be like, well, there he is, he's straight ahead, or he could have walked in another direction, but he was nowhere to be seen.
So from the time that you ran back and got to your aunt's and she started to walk you, it wasn't that long of a wait. It wasn't like you went back inside to your aunt's place and then like 5 minutes later you guys
No,
went back home. It was right away.
yeah, no, it wasn't that long at all. It was like, we went over there and we went knocking, and we explained to her what we saw. We're like, oh my God, we just saw somebody. And she was kind of like, all right, calm down. And she was like, I'll walk you guys home. I'll walk you guys home. It probably took maybe a couple minutes, maybe, I'd say anywhere between 2 to 5 minutes, maybe you're right. And, you know, but still, I think we would have been able to spot him either,
Okay.
whichever way he would have walked.
Hmm. Like I said, at the end of the day, if you have that, be a shadow person, be it a, like you said, a ghost, or be it some just creepy guy walking down the street.
Yeah.
Either way, if you had that, sinking feeling that I got to get out of here, I think that would have been, that's a smart choice.
Yeah, that was a smarter choice. You're right. It was because I didn't feel good about it. I definitely felt like something was very weird about it. Like I said, I got a very, not even a weird vibe. It was more of an evil vibe.
Hmm.
And man, I don't know. I don't want to go into this topic, but I think it's a little bit deeper, Rob, than a shadow person. Now that I think about it, because there is history at my aunt's house,
Really?
and this is a true story.
Wait,
Her
wait,
house
wait. Is
is
the shadow people not a true story?
no. That's a true story. But what I'm saying is, there's history at my aunt's house. Like,
Okay.
her house is haunted.
Really?
Like, there is people who have witnessed ghosts at that house. So maybe, you know, now that I think about it, it could have been maybe a spirit from her house.
That is crazy.
Like, her house is like legit haunted. Like, people have gone over there and have seen things. And you know what, Robert? I'm going to tell you this right now. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, now that, man. So when I used to go to my aunt's house, right? When I was a kid, I didn't know it was haunted. But her house was 2 stories, right?
Hmm.
And my cousin's room was upstairs. And when we would go upstairs, I swear, like, there was something that I just wanted to like run down the stairs.
Hmm.
Like, I just didn't like being upstairs. Like, I felt like, very scared. And now that I think about it, that feeling that I had when I go up, like when I used to go to my aunt's house upstairs, is the same feeling I had when I saw that guy. That like evil feel. And now that I think about it, I'm gonna mention that to my brother next time that I see him, and be like, you know what? I think what we might have seen is possibly that demon or spirit that was in that. I don't know if it's still in that house,
How could your
but
aunt live at a place if it's so creepy?
well, supposedly they don't know that. They say it's not haunted. They
But you
say
see
it's
stuff
not.
there?
I've never seen anything there myself, but I've heard very like numerous stories like of people like relatives who have gone there and spent the night, and
Hmm.
they would like. So I had an aunt, right? She came from Mexico, and she was staying with them, and and we got a call in the middle of the night, like from my aunt, saying that she needed to come spend the night at our house. My dad was like, "Yeah, yeah, no problem." And like I said, my uncle lived only like 2 blocks away from us,
Hmm.
right? So when she came over, she was in a panic. She was saying, she was sleeping upstairs in the guest room, and that she's like, man, something was there, something was scaring us, blah, 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 blah. And, she told my uncle, which was her brother, that the dog next door, or a dog, was not letting her sleep, which is why she had to leave the house, because she didn't want to say it was a ghost or whatever. I guess she didn't want to scare them. But, man, this house is like legit, like haunted. Like people have
Wait,
said it.
so wait,
Hmm.
what did she see? What was it that she saw that made her go to
Well,
your
well,
place?
she didn't see anything. She said she heard and like heard like noises like going on, like just like hauntings, I guess.
Hmm.
So then this happened, like once rumors started going out, like what, there's something going on in this house. Like other relatives started coming out, like saying that I had like a cousin who said that she saw a person there when she was a kid. And when she told like my other aunt or whatever, like, hey, who's that person, my aunt would be like, what person, like, what are you talking about? And he'd be like, yeah, that person right there. And when my aunt would see, there would be like nobody there. This is like not the owner of this house, like another aunt that would go there and visit. And but you know what, now that I think about it, I think that shadow person that I saw might have been somehow um related to the entity that's in that house.
So,
Because like I said, I had an evil feeling about it, and it's the same feeling that I used to have when I would go upstairs to their room.
so on Pararational, it goes into something called lurking shadow people. It says generally found in homes and very often around bedrooms. The classic shadow people tend to be
Mm.
lurking. They will stand in doorways or corners and just watch their victims. These types of shadow entities don't generally seem to have any intent. They are just there observing. Sometimes they will wander location, following people or stalking them. And then, as far as your shadow people, it goes into, let me see here. Definitely the most dangerous of the types of shadow people, demonic shadows should be avoided at all costs. Among shadow people, these are one of the few types that you can sometimes see the eyes of. Many accounts of them talk of glowing red eyes, which is a particularly bad sign. That is crazy, Jose.
Mm.
Unless you read this article and you're just kind
I
of
did not.
going over your stories over and over. I mean, it seems to be matching up with the,
Yeah.
or unless you're the writer of the article. I got to see who the author is.
Oh yeah, I actually wrote it. No, like I said, all of this just came to me like putting two and two together, right? Like I said, I'm gonna go over it with my brother. I'm gonna see
Hmm.
him possibly next week, and I'm gonna mention it to him. Like I think it was related to the house.
Oh, that is crazy.
Yeah, I'll tell you another story about that house real quick too. This was already, I was already like an adult. I was probably like in either my early 20s, right?
Hmm.
So I was still living at my dad's, and they had a cousin. Um, oh, hold on, I'll tell you this another story as well. So my uncle went to Mexico with his family, right?
Hmm.
And we got a knock on the door from the police,
Hmm.
and the police was like, "Hey, oh, are you related to such and such who lives at this house?" And my dad went out and he was like, "Yeah." And he was like, well, somebody broke in the house or tried to break into the house. Do you
Hmm.
mind like coming over, to verify or whatever? So my dad told me, he's like, hey, Jose, come with me, to your uncle's because somebody tried to break into the house. And I was like, all right. So again, I was already older than when this happened. And when we went over, we were walking inside the cops were there and everything. And we were like, yeah, we got reports of somebody breaking into the house. but we don't see anybody because my dad had the key to the house, because my uncle went out of town. So in case something happened, my dad had the key. So the cops were like, yeah, we got reports of somebody breaking into the house, but we don't see any what do you call it, breaking and entering. And that's when me and my dad were kind of like, all right, we kind of already suspected like it was probably not a robbery or a breaking and entering. It was probably more of a poltergeist, like
Wait, so what
turning
was
on.
reported? Did they see somebody inside, or what were they reporting?
Well, I don't know if it was the neighbors that reported something. Something was going on in the house.
Mm-hmm.
So they called the cops. Because I guess whoever reported it saw. I don't know if they saw either. My guess is that they saw either lights flickering or on and off
Gotcha.
when there was no one home. So they called the cops. And when we went over there, and this happened at night as well. Um, you know, um, when we went over there, the cops were like, yeah, there's no sign of, anyone breaking in or anything like that. But, we got reports of somebody was breaking into the house. And
Crazy.
me and my dad were kind of like, we were like, yeah, I don't think it was I don't think it was a person. It might have been someone trying to break out of the house, not into it.
That is
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, that house is very, very strange as well, man. Very strange. So yeah, maybe my shadow. It's so weird that all of a sudden that house came into the whole story thing. I was not expecting it,
So
but
has anybody ever, because you always hear whenever there's like these ghost stories, somebody's passed away or there was a crazy murder. Have you guys ever heard of anything at that house?
no, like I've never heard anything like that, like anything happening in that house or why it's supposedly it's haunted. From my understanding, from what my dad knows, or what he's told me was that supposedly when my uncle moved in there, that there was witchcraft books
Oh,
like in
crazy.
the attic, so that there was witchcraft books. So he thinks that it's related to that, and also what he suspects is that um, it used to be a lot more haunted. But my cousin, when he was a kid, when he was probably like 4 or 5 years old, he accidentally burnt the house down, like partially burnt it down. Like he was playing with my cousin. He was a very mischievous kid, and I don't know if he was playing with matches or with a lighter or something, but half of that house went up in flames.
Hmm.
So my dad thinks that maybe those books probably got burned, with it, but he still thinks that there's something that still lurks there.
Crazy.
Hmm.
So I think we'll have to
So yeah,
touch
that's.
base on this house on a future date because you got some crazy
Oh
stories there.
man, yeah, that's a weird house, man. A weird. I should take a picture and send it to you. Like,
I think what we should do is like you should do like a late night there, have like a video camera and see if anything
yeah.
crazy happens. We could post it on the YouTube channel. Or maybe
Oh
it'll be
man, that
like
would be.
that's the last time we hear of Jose. He's just
Yeah.
like
The shadow person got him this time.
mission accomplished. Man, that
But
is
yeah,
nuts.
that's my shadow story. My shadow man story. It might have been a demon from that house, actually. Now that I think about it.
That is crazy. Yeah, I mean, I
Hmm.
usually I'm the rational person. I like to say it was probably a person that you saw walking down the street. The fact that you and your brother saw red eyes, I can't figure out what that was, other than saying, you know, yeah, who knows what you saw. But at the end of the day, I don't know. That's
It's creepy.
that's a
It's a
creepy
creepy
story. That's
story.
a creeper. That's a geeker creeper.
Yeah, that fit the category.
I want anybody that's listening, if you guys want to chime in and email us, tell us what you think happened. Our email is definitely it'll be on our podcast, but if it's not, it's geekerscreeperscast@gmail.com. That's geekerscreeperscast@gmail.com. I would definitely love to hear what your theory is on, if you have a theory, or if you think Jose's not crazy and he actually saw what he saw, that this place is um, possessed and that he's seeing these shadow people. Tell us what you think, or if you've heard of any other theories, or if you know his aunt and you stayed at that place, share us your stories. You know that is a crazy little house that yeah, That's nuts, man. Um, with that said, I think we're kind of coming close to the end of our show. Again, next week we're still, as usual. This is episode 7. I'm sorry, as usual, we're trying. This is a slow evolution. We're trying to figure out, steps of how we're going to be doing our podcast. We make small changes here and there. This is episode 7, and we're thinking maybe next episode. I was talking to Jose. We're going to extend our creepy part a little more, maybe adding 2 stories into it and go over those. But like I said, we're still trying to work on this. It's a work in progress. We usually seem to be going a little longer on the geeky topics, but that's we like talking about that. We like talking about both parts. It
Yeah.
just seems that we like to maybe add a little more to the creepy part. Uh, with that said, Jose, do you have anything extra to add? Any shout outs, anything else?
No, but I would definitely look forward to hearing one of your creepy stories next week.
Yes, I
Oh
do
man,
have one
I
creepy
can't
story.
wait.
Mine is I still don't know what happened with this. I've told many people, many of my friends know the story. I like to, well, let's just say it's like a ghost story, and I don't know what it was that we saw, but I'll explain. I
Oh
don't
man,
really
I
believe
can't
in
wait.
ghosts, but I still have no clue what we saw that day. Um, with that said, again, everybody, I would love it if you guys would give us 5 stars if you find us on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts. If you give us 5 stars, give us a great review. That'd be greatly appreciated. We're starting, we're a newer podcast. We'd like to get out there, and we do this mainly because it's one, therapeutic for us. We like to talk about these things. 2, we like to, have people listen to what we think. We know that our opinions aren't that great, but we like to, keep people entertained as little as we
Yeah,
can. It's something
absolutely.
we do this for. Anybody that listens to it, we greatly appreciate it if you do. And if you do, please give us like 5-star reviews. Check out our YouTube channel, which is going to be Geekers Creepers Podcast. I'll add a link to that too. Again, I will be Twitch streaming, so if you catch me on there, I think I still go under Smuggling Hams as my Twitch stream names. So I'll include a link to that also. Um, one more time, I'd like to thank Jose as usual for joining me and for his story, which was awesome. I'd like to thank Will for his my buddy Will for his Mario 35 thoughts, which he sent me because he's been playing that for some hours. And again, Pablo loves MC. He's a Twitch streamer. Follow him if you get a chance. He's a great streamer, great guy. He's helped me out with Twitch streaming. Again, that's Pablo loves MC. And you can email us at geekerscreeperscast@gmail. Follow us on Twitter at geekerscreepers. Um, and we will be ending it now. So one more time, Jose, anything left to say for the listeners?
No, I just hope everyone has a great week, and hopefully they can join us next week. And hope you guys enjoyed the show and my story. And again, it's my story. If tell me what you guys think about it. And again, thanks for listening.
Great. And everyone, thank you so much. And until next time, I wish you all the best in life, love, and gaming.